Welcome back to another episode of Hot to Trot. We had such a good time with our Racing for Love couple that they ended up getting their own episode. So welcome our Presque Isle Downs couple, Patrick Morell and Cassandra Judd. Well, Patrick, Cass, thanks for joining us on Hot to Trot in our Racing for Love segment. We're so excited to have you guys today.
Thanks for having us.
Great to be here.
Yeah, so Presque Isle Downs isn't racing right now, and that's you guys' home track. So what have you guys been up to?
You want to start or you want me to start? It's been it's been a tough little bit of a couple months here since Presque Isle finished with my mom and her not doing well whatsoever. She's 84 now, and the true testament, I think, for a relationship is how your significant other deals with your parents. You know, I'm a lot older than Cass, unfortunately. The good thing is she's a lot younger than me, so I think that's a plus. But, you know, I lost my dad a couple years ago, and Cass was around for that. And then, you know, now with my mom not doing well, we were running back and forth to the hospital from Presque Isle. Just a lot of things going on there. And, you know, without Cass right now, I don't know my mom would probably be in a nursing home. And that's the thing that we want to keep from happening is putting her there. But just like everything that Cass does for me, it's just, you know, it does for my mom. And it's just, like I said, it's a true testament how strong a relationship really is when it comes down to difficult situations like we're going through right now.
Yeah, so that's hard. I know a lot of people can probably relate to that as parents grow older and in the situation that you're in, you know, making sure that you do right by the parents and having to lean on your spouse as to help be a caretaker.
Well, I mean, you know, basically Cass, you know, she could have been training at Turfway this winter, and, you know, I mean, it's tough there. We all know that. We had a tough meet there last year when Cass was training, and it's just not easy whatsoever. And the fact of the matter is that, you know, she gave up everything to come here to help me take care of my mom and clean this house out. And, you know, my parents had, almost 60 years of collecting things together. Man, we threw out a lot of stuff.
And we're not done yet.
And we're not even closed.
Oh. Parents always collect a lot, but it's nice to have a support system. You know, you definitely need that during these times.
It's been a tough couple months.
So how long have you and Cass been together?
6 years. We met at a horse sale at Timonium down at the Mid-Atlantic sale. And she was working for a friend of mine at his consignment. And we didn't start dating right away or anything like that. It wasn't until later on in January. That was in October. Mm-hmm. And I just loved her sense of humor, and she kind of has this little bit of a dark sense of humor. And if you get to know her, it's very, very funny. Like,
it's the racetrack. Everyone has
it's true.
It might be a little more elevated or down, depending on how you look at it.
We're very similar, but we're very much different. Also, if that makes sense. It's not like we grew up differently. I have different interests outside of this. I mean, my other real passion is cooking. I love to cook, which sounds kind of crazy, but I'm an Italian kid from Pittsburgh. I mean, we have a kitchen in the basement. We have a kitchen upstairs. It's just what we do. And I learned from my dad. I watched my dad a lot, you know, and he was just phenomenal. My grandmother was incredible. They still spoke Italian in the house when I was growing up. It was really, really neat to have that heritage behind me. And then my mom, on my mom's side, they're like white bread, fifth boat after the Mayflower, you know, so it's completely different dichotomy between the two families for sure.
Cass, what's the favorite thing that he cooks?
Ooh, probably shrimp and linguine.
Yeah.
Any of his pasta dishes are pretty spot on for me, especially this time of year when you just want some comfort food. You're not worried about trying to eat light because you're working for 15 hours a day.
I'm very, very, most of the stuff I prepare is very much more geared toward Italian food because it's what I love. It's what I grew up with. My dad always cooked. My mom didn't really cook that much. She could, but she just didn't really she didn't really like it either. So I just kind of took after my dad, and and it was always fun. Even like when we would go hunting and everything, have a fire and we'd be cooking. That was the best part of going hunting, was eating. So that's what we would do. We go to camp and dad would cook, and we had more fun doing that and playing cards than we did hunting. So it was a cool childhood, but I kind of took part of that. And now you go through everything, like with my parents and cleaning all this out. There's a lot of memories, and someday, the people that haven't gone through it, they'll understand someday. And the people who have gone through it, they're like, yeah, I remember what that's like. Because, I'm 56 now. Man, we're finding things from like my high school football career, and like when I was a little kid, and the stupid clothes that my mom would put on me. I mean, it was, you see all that, you see all those old pictures, and it becomes, and I'm very sentimental. Like Cass is not as sentimental as me. I'm incredibly sentimental. And, I don't know, I guess I'm just,
I don't think that's entirely true. It's not that I'm not sentimental. It's that I've pretty much been transient, having worked on the racetrack since I was 18, 19 years old. So I'm still a little bit mentally too. I have to be able to pack all of my belongings in 20 minutes because I got to get on the road, sort of thing. So for me, it's hard to like understand the importance of tangible items. I like nice things, but yeah, it's been a little bit of an adjustment for me to like asking Patrick, hey, are we throwing this away? I'm like, oh no, that was my Holy Communion money, like which he still has too.
Not true. I spent it on a horse. Trust me. Believe me. I used to go to Waterford Park with my friends, especially my one friend Gino. Him and I, as soon as we were done with baseball practice, or as soon as we were done with football practice, whatever it was, I'm like, hey, it's Monday. Usually we couldn't go in the fall, but in the spring we could usually go. I'm like, hey, if we rush down to Waterford, it was Mountaineer, used to be called Waterford back in the day, before you girls were probably born. But I'm like, Gino, come on, man, we can hit the last race. We can hit the Super in the last race. We would fly down there. It was like 35 minutes away, and we go as fast as we could to catch that last race. I mean, that's how much we were devoted to racing back then. And then I remember days we didn't make any money. We went to the track and we had to bum quarters and dollars off of people to get enough gasoline to get back home. Gas then was like 99 cents a gallon, so it didn't really matter. You get a couple bucks, we could make it home.
So did you start out as like a gambler? Is that how you got into it?
I remember when I was 5. I think it was 5. It was a year secretary at one. And I know it's kind of cliche, but I always watched the Derby with my maternal grandfather, Papa. And he always took me around to his friends that had horses, and I got to ride on them. And they were just like, farm horses or whatever. And I turned around and I said, Papa, I said, I'm going to own one of these one day. I want one. He laughed. He giggled. He was a cool dude. And I just always had that fire and that passion. And I think I knew then that's what I wanted to do, even when I was 5 years old. Like, I really don't think that the thoroughbred industry, like, you don't wake up. I don't really think that people wake up one morning and say, hey, I want to be in the industry. And maybe some people do, but I didn't. I always thought that the game picked you. And that's how I feel. I feel like the game picked me. And I just wanted, and you got to remember where I came from. I came from Beaver County, Rochester, Pennsylvania. We had steel mills and we had football. And that's really all we had. That's all was the Steelers were really starting to become very good in the 70s. And, we were all rabid fans of the Steelers and, playing football basically, from the time I was 8 or 9 years old until I got out of school. I mean, it was what I loved to do. And then, but there was always these horses that came in, and nobody really did that around here. I mean, it was very rare you found somebody who loved racing. They might go down a little bit, but that was it. And it was a tough road to hoe to get to Kentucky. It took me till I was 39 to get there, but I did, and that's where I started.
Wow. Yeah. Cass, how did you get into racing? Did you grow up in it?
Yes and no, from a distance early on. So my great uncle, so my mother's uncle, was a quarter horse trainer, and she was a jockey. She had given that all up well before she had me, but after my parents divorced when I was 5 years old, I moved to Tennessee with my dad, and there I sort of kind of got the itch with horses. Similar to Patrick, where my friend had like backyard nags. We'd jump the fence when her parents weren't looking and go running off through the fields. It wasn't until I was about 10 years old that my great uncle and his wife adopted me from my dad. He was just having some hard times caring for me as a single parent in a new city. So they adopted me and brought me to Richmond, Kentucky, where he was still training, but had moved more away from the racetrack into legging up horses and starting young horses to send down to Louisiana and out to the Midwest circuits. We also had a string of like show horses, quarter horses, gaited horses, pretty much anything you could imagine. I was getting thrown on at 10 years old most of the time to start their breaking because I wanted to be a cowboy when I grew up. I had no idea what I was talking about, but I was really good at bucking out horses because that's what I wanted to be good at, and I was. Made a career out of catch riding at horse shows in Kentucky and Tennessee until I was about 17 years old, all the while galloping. There was a brief period where I thought that I was going to be a quarter horse jockey, but a fun little accident in the starting gate made me cut the idea of that career really short. That was actually about 14 months of PT and OT. It's pretty serious injury, but I knew that I wasn't going to give it up entirely. Right around the time I finished my rehab, my uncle passed away, which kind of just shut the door on everything quarter horse related to me. But I thought, I'm going to go off to college. I'm going to, take a breather from this for a second. And I hated it. I went to North Carolina, started studying just like a general undergrad degree, ended up finding out that I had a pretty good knack for math, and the university had invited me to stay there and have my tuition paid for if I would continue on a mathematics degree path. And I said, no, I want to go home. I miss my horses. So I went back to Kentucky, moved to Lexington, finished my schooling at UK, and got started at WinStar working in the therapy barn, doing the aquatred, the hyperbaric oxygen, obviously like working on the training division end of things. And from there, it just kind of took off. I went and broke horses, galloped horses for Kenny McPeak for a while. Then I decided that the racetrack was for me and I wanted to pursue it. And it sort of spiraled out of control from there, everywhere from New York to Florida to Minnesota to New York to, I was making a circuit for a few years until I finally came back to Kentucky.
Wow. That's quite a journey. And that's really cool that you guys have kind of both started down in Kentucky and brought yourself up here.
Yeah, I mean, you have to think about this. Kentucky is the epicenter of the thoroughbred world. And when I got a chance to go down there, I mean, I had a very corporate life. I mean, incredibly corporate. I did closings for a living, and it was like watching paint dry. I wasn't really fond of realtors at all. I had to deal with them every day, and they didn't know half of what they really should. And it was very frustrating to me. A lot of other factors, and I just woke up one day and the alarm was going off, guys. And I'm not joking. This is a true story. The alarm's going off, and I'm hitting the snooze, and I keep hitting the snooze. After about the sixth time hitting the snooze, I pulled my pistol out of the drawer. I was going to shoot the alarm clock. I was so bad. I just didn't want to do it. I didn't want to go to work that day. I had no desire to put on that suit and tie and go do another closing. And I got lucky, and I did it. And that was probably 6 months before I even got offered this job. And I had bred a horse at Vinery, and I met the general manager there, and his name was Tom Lute. Turned out to later on become the chairman of the board of Breeders' Cup. And I became his assistant, and I worked in the stallion division. I ran the stallion division down there, was for seasons and shares down there. And we sold a lot of seasons. We had a lot of really great sires like More Than Ready and Pure Prize and Purge back then. And we had some nice horses there that I got to be around. And it was just like, it was a new world when I got down there. He offered me the job because he had been in the insurance business. And I think he mistakenly thought I was in like the insurance business. I was in title insurance, which is, it's still insurance, but it's completely different. Obviously, it's real estate. And I think he kind of misunderstood that. So he called me down for an interview. And I remember it's the only time in my life that I called my former boss and I told him I'm sick. And I wasn't. I was in Lexington. I got to stay at the farm. I figured, well, you know what? I'm not going to get this job anyways. I'm a kid from Pittsburgh. Like, who the hell is going to hire me over these Lexingtonians? You know? And son of a gun, I got the job, and I didn't know what to do because that's all I had done my whole life. My dad was in that business too. That's all I had done. And I went down there. I literally knew him. I didn't know another soul. Literally. Second night I was there, I was so homesick I was going to leave and go home. And the farm manager brought over a 6-pack of beer, and he talked me out of leaving, and that was that. That's how it all got started. But I mean, listen, it was hard giving up everything. I probably, if I would have stayed where I was at, another 3 or 4 years, I'd been completely retired, wouldn't have had to worry about a thing. But here I am, chasing animals or running around in circles, and you know what? It makes me happy. And I know it makes Cass happy. And, you know, I mean, for her to give up everything to come here to help me, it's amazing. It just wasn't easy for her to do that. And, you know, you always worry about where all the money's going to come from. And we all know in our business, man, you can burn it quick. You know, you have one bad year, you're in trouble. Like, you know, a lot of people don't realize it. And it just, you know, the thing that frustrates me the most, especially being a breeder also, because I still breed some, people think that it's just we're all rich. We're not. We work hard. I mean, I've never seen anybody work like Cass, her, maybe Mike Rogers and Trish Rogers and Ronnie Potts up at Presque Isle. Those guys work. They work so hard. They're there at 4:30 in the morning. They're busting their butt all day. Cass is going back to feed at night, and I'm like, I hate having her do that sometimes because it's just like, well, can't we just have like, let me make dinner and like maybe we can go to the lake or something, you know, take the boat out, do something fun. But these animals always come first, and it's a hard go, you know, and it just drives me crazy when people think we're just all rich. I wish we were. I wish we were rich because it'd be a hell of a lot more fun, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. The highs are high and the lows are very low. But paychecks aren't steady in horse racing, so it's rough and people don't realize that.
Well, you know, for me, it's such a wonderful job and a wonderful gig that I have at Presque Isle, and I work for a couple really good guys, and you know, Alan Plever, our racing secretary, he's kind of stepped in as my dad when I lost my dad. He's originally from Tarentum. He's from Allegheny County. So, you know, he's a super good guy. He lives near Detroit now, you know, and he's been instrumental in getting me, you know, where I'm at with everything. And Matt Ennis has been really, really good to me at Presque Isle. And our new general manager, Gary, has been phenomenal also. But working up there has it's just so much fun, guys. Like, every day I get up and it's just like, oh, okay. Hey, I don't have to do a settlement sheet. I don't have to go do a closing. I get to handicap the entire card, and this is all I get to do. And I get to watch every single race, every single year. And because this will be what I started in the 19s.
Started in 19.
Yeah, so I'm getting ready to start 24 here pretty soon. I can't wait. I'm just like, this year I was with Caden Bradar. Last year I was with Larry Colmus. It was a lot of fun. I don't know who I'm going to get this year, but big days are really Masters days. You guys weren't you guys? You guys were up there for Masters there, yeah.
It was great. I have to say, we all agreed. Your fans up there were so nice, and like they wanted to talk to us, and like it was probably the most fun we had with fans all summer. Was the
we really do. We have a very, very good, solid, like rabid group of fans up there. I don't care what anybody says. I mean, I think we're just a hidden gem up there. And, you know, some of my friends in Kentucky make fun of me. They're like, why do you want to be there? Why don't you want to be at the mothership? I call it the mothership, Churchill. You know, why do you not want to be at these bigger racetracks? Why don't you want to go on FanDuel? I'm like, well, first of all, to get on FanDuel is pretty tough. But, you know, for me, that's home. It's been home since 2019. And you guys got to remember, I used to run a lot of horses up there too, you know, before I worked for the racetrack. So that was, you know, it's nice because I could always come home and see my parents. They were an hour and 45 minutes away. I can just, you know, buzz down there, cut the grass for them, do whatever I needed to do for them. And I got to see them, you know, so that made it easier too. When you're in Kentucky, we're 6 hours away. I mean, and that's a long ride. We're so used, Cass and I are so used to doing it. It's like, it's not a big deal anymore, but it's still, you still got to take a whole day to get there. Erie's just, it's a fun place in the summer. I mean, we go on the boat, we get to go to Presque Isle to the actual peninsula. We hang out, we can take the dogs that we want, we can take our friends and just hang out there all day on the boat. And it's just a beautiful, yeah.
Cass, how long have you been racing up there?
I started working up there for Mike Rogers in 2020. I worked for him for one season, and then I opened up with 3 horses of my own in 2021. So, yeah, not very long.
Wow.
Yeah, but you got to remember too, Cash used to gallop for Bill Mott. She used to gallop for Kenny McPeak. She was assistant to Burnell Roan. They had 70, 80 head of horses.
84 head of horses.
84. Can you imagine that, guys? 84 head of horses. I'd pull my hair out.
That's exhausting.
And he would go fishing. So it would be me and the team kind of getting it done while he was gone in Canada.
Wow.
Canada.
How many horses do you have now?
Currently, including my personal 2, that's it. So my plan was at the end of this season. So let me just back up really quick.
This might be a long story.
No,
I like it.
I mean, I can't talk the way you can.
I do it for a living. What do you want?
So pretty much this year was one of exponential growth for me as far as my business was concerned. I was getting in a lot of new horses with some new clients, and the learning curve of business was swift. I think everybody survived mostly unscathed. And by the end of the meet, I had decided, Turfway is going to be really difficult this meet because the money's improving so much. The quality of horses is just shot through the roof. I reached out to all of my clients and said basically, hey, let's save our stock for next year. Most of them are PA bred anyway. Like, we don't want to miss our PA bred conditions. Like, if we did run and win down at Turfway, the money's nice, but it's better to have the condition at a venue where you're going to be more competitive. So it was sort of my idea that I was going to take some time off for myself this winter, just kind of recharge and see how much better I could come back this coming year. I figured I had done pretty good for myself, all things considered, while I was trying to navigate managing my business, managing my employees, and the horses, and Patrick, and everything else to boot. But I was just kind of ready for a little bit of a reset. I'd put it together. It wasn't pretty. Now I wanted to make it pretty and then move forward. And I had the support of all of my clients. They were so generous, so understanding. So everybody right now, as far as all of my horses are concerned, are either turned out somewhere in Eastern Pennsylvania or in South Carolina. Oh, they get the winter off. I'm getting the winter off, kind of. Out of the frying pan and into the fire.
This is a full-time job taking care of my mom. I never realized, caregivers, now I get it.
But it's a good thing I did that because, I couldn't imagine trying to be the support system for Patrick and his mother that I am while also still continuing to train. So something had to give, and I'm just really blessed to have people in my corner like Tom Coulter and Donnie Brown that are like, hey, we recognize what your needs are. Our horses will be here when you get back. Go do what you need to do. So it's been a real breath of fresh air because I personally, and that's the thing for a lot of people in this industry, there's sort of this concern, not unrealistically, that if you step out, it'll be hard to get back in. And that was a fear for me. I obviously didn't want my business to go elsewhere, and I was going to try to tie on and keep up the juggling act if I had to. But like I said, those 2 gentlemen especially, also Brian Scheida, Scott Grow, all such top-notch people. I could not be here doing what I need to be doing without wonderful people like them supporting me.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, no, I'm really grateful. It's, as a trainer, I've seen enough in the business, just doing other work, working for other trainers, to know that business is hard. As a trainer, it's really demanding. You have to meet the expectations of your owners, your employees, keep the business running, pay the feed man, etc. And it gets overwhelming for these men and women that are, hanging their shingle. You just kind of hope from time to time that everybody else gets a little bit of a breather, because it's so important, especially now in this economy where we're not only dealing with literal higher prices, it costs more to keep this operation going, but in the political climate as well. You see these horsemen and women under stress, and the good ones are shutting down and are refocusing their careers in other directions. And it's getting to be a concern for me that, you see all these good horsemen and women saying, sayonara, I would rather go be the postal worker or drive a FedEx truck or, do something different within the industry that takes a lot of stress off of their plate. So for me, it's been really excellent to have this time, as much as it can feel a little bit overwhelming and not particularly for myself. This is enough for me to realize that I'm still doing what I want to be doing. And this year at Presque Isle is going to be another banger for me.
Yeah, she killed it this year, no question.
Patrick, so I would love to know, what is the way you proposed, and how did you know you were ready to pop that question?
We actually talked about it. It wasn't like, I'm a lot older, so I'm not into the big fanfare and we got to have a flash mob and there's got to be 14,000 people taking pictures.
Wait, was a flash mob on the table?
No.
Did I miss something?
You did. You got a nice ring, so zip it. But no, we talked about it. We talked about it for a long time. And listen, I mean, we had rough spots like everybody else. Like, it's just, unfortunately, relationships aren't always easy. Mm-hmm. And when you have the stress level that we all have in our game, it becomes tough sometimes. And listen, man, people were people, and we talked about it. I'm like, let's just get this done, and she's like, okay, but I get to pick it out. I'm like, all right, fair enough. Like, I don't want to go buy the wrong thing. I mean, you're spending a little bit of money here. It's not like, hey, I'm spending $200 on a nice dinner tonight. Like, you're spending thousands. And so she designed what she wanted. She got it. And she's like, she just came to me one day. She's like, I want my ring.
I like it.
Okay. She goes, I want my ring. I want to wear my ring. I said, I want to do it. So I said, well, you know what? I said, I forget, what did I do? I did something like, I tried to not let her know that it was finally ready.
Oh, he's got a terrible poker face.
Oh, I do. I can't lie. I can't lie to save my life, guys. And I just never could lie for anything. And I got her down to the jewelry store. It was ready. And she's like, what are you going to ask me? I go, you want to marry me? She's like, yeah, okay, cool. Good. That was it. That's all we did. We went to dinner. And had fun. So it was very low. We're very low key kind of people about things like that. Yeah. I have a lot of younger friends, and Cass, I mean, I did it before. I was married for a long, long time, and it just, I'm to the point of the age where I don't need all the pomp and circumstance anymore. I just want to know that I have somebody that loves the same thing that I do. And that's what was so important with Cass, because we both love this game. Like, we crave this game. It's so wonderful because we'll lay in bed in the middle of the afternoon. I'm like, hey, put on TVG, and we'll sit there and we'll watch races, and we'll watch the post parade and who every horse is by and the dam, and we might know this person or that person, and we know a lot of people, but it's so refreshing to have the passion in your spouse or your significant other that that you didn't with somebody else. And I think it makes life a lot easier. And a lot of people don't understand how demanding this game is and how hard it is on people. And if you're not a horseman and your significant other calls you and says, hey babe, this horse is colicking, I got to stay and wait for the vet. Some people don't understand that. They don't get it. I used to run a big farm in Pennsylvania for a couple of years, and it was 3:30 in the morning. We're up there, and we got a dystocia, and we got to call the vet, and we're trying to save the mare. We're trying to save the baby, and You know, a lot of spouses wouldn't understand. You got to leave in the middle of the night to go try and save a horse's life. Like, you know, they just don't get it. But like Cass and I, we understand what it's about. We have that passion. And I think that's what makes it so great for us together collectively. And we feed off of each other in the good way because, you know, whether it's energy or clients, you know, I've sent her clients of mine before that I buy a lot of bloodstock for. And that's how she ended up with Donnie Brown. And she's just done incredibly well with him. I was friends with Erin McClellan, you know, for years. You know, her and I have been friends. And she's, you know, I'm like, Erin, if you ever need anything, please call Cass. You know, she'll help you out. Well, guess what? She said, well, Tom Coulter has a synthetic horse that I think would be, and Cass started training Maldives Model, and boom, she wins the Princess of Sylmar Stakes with her. So, you know, that's what it's all about. It's about the networking, but it's also about having each other's back and helping each other out.
Yeah,
I think that's so important.
I always say it's a lifestyle. And so if you like don't understand the lifestyle of horse racing, it's hard to date someone outside of the business. It's nice to have someone that knows your schedules are never the same. It's not 9 to 5. That's just not how it works.
No, it's weird. I mean, we are weird people. I mean, we truly are. I mean, look at us. We're glorified gypsies. We just run around and chase them. We go the money trail, you know? So, I mean, that's what we do. And sometimes it's exhausting. You know, like a lot of my friends, you know, they'll go to Presque Isle, then they'll go to Tampa, and they'll go back up to Presque Isle. I'm like, forget that crap. I don't want to do that anymore. But sometimes it's what you have to do to make a living. And the fact that even having to even think about going back to a corporate lifestyle, I say that sometimes I threaten it. Sometimes I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. And then I'm like, yeah, I don't want to do that. I don't really want to do that. I'm just mad today. I'm not going to put up with it. And then, you know, and then you go in the other room for 20 minutes and you're fine. It's just how it is. But I just think when you have a significant other that just has the same passion, and is it a lifestyle like you said, Donna? Yeah, it is. But it's also a passion, and maybe sometimes it's an affliction or a disease that we have. But man, it sure is. I mean, when you win, I mean, like we scream like crazy people for our horses. We do. We cheer for them. And you know, and the one thing that I really love about Cass, and she's like this with me, we always, when they're done racing, it's paramount to us that we find places for them to be successful in their second careers. You know, it's incredibly important to us. Cass says once she just retired, he just won. She's getting ready to start. Tell about Flight to Paradise. He's a cool horse,
Flight to Paradise. He was my pride and joy. I acquired him at the middle of the meet this year. I had trained him previously for some owners, and they had decided, you know, financially it just wasn't in the cards for them to stay in. So I bought the horse off of them, and he's an older gelding. Let's see, I guess now he's technically 6 because we were into the new year.
Yeah, sure.
But I won with him at the end of the meet, and I said, you know what? I really like this horse, and I really need something to enjoy myself with, because my only other horse, he's a 46-year-old cross spotted saddle Tennessee Walker. So his riding days are over.
She's not lying about that age either. He's literally 46 years old.
That's crazy.
That's amazing.
Yeah. I'm really good at keeping them alive, or he's really good at staying alive in spite of me. I haven't figured it out yet, but he still runs around chasing his paddock buddies.
And I literally rode him 2 years ago.
But I decided that I wanted to retire him, and Kelly Salt, who gallops my horses for me now, she works with me at Presque Isle in the summer. She's a pretty decorated trainer. She's ridden at Rolex like 4 or 5 times. Yeah. She used to take a lot of his retirees. I said, hey, this is what we're going to do. I've got to handle some things. I'm going to send this horse with you, and we're entering him in the RRP this year. So look. Yeah,
so awesome.
He will be competing with her this coming fall at the RRP in Lexington.
Yeah. His brother just won the Tropical Park Derby too.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll have to keep us updated with that, because we'd love to do a story on him and, you know, keep
we'll
us
do, absolutely.
With
yeah, he's a cool guy. I'm
really
really excited about it. And I think I was more excited to do this with him as my horse as an avenue. You know, you see so many horses go off to second careers. They're retired to people that have no attachment to the racetrack other than they attended the canter sale and bought something out of it. I knew this horse had talent the day I claimed him from Susan Anderson. What was it, 2 years ago now?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 2 years ago.
I just saw this horse was going to be really special in the long run, and I immediately grew attached to him and said, you know what? This would be good for the game that a trainer would stay in with this horse and finance him to get to the RRP. And he'll be my horse forever anyway, but I just thought that it would be good for the game to get as many stories like that out there as possible, in addition to all the other successful retiree stories.
Patrick, do you find it hard to handicap the races that Cass is in?
You know what? She would yell at me, and I have. It's so funny you say that because I have horsemen who are my friend, and I know everybody up there. Obviously, it's a small community. I mean, we're like a little college. We're not, it's like where I went to college. We weren't real big, but they're like, "Why'd you pick me?" I'm like, "Because I think your horse looks really great in the spot." "Oh, you're gonna jinx me." Oh, they run off after we leave the paddock because they hear me talking about their horse in the paddock previous. And I'm like, okay, whatever. And then there's other times like, dude, you didn't pick my horse. Do you not like my horse today? I'm like, I just think there's other horses that are better in this spot. Oh, I can't believe you did that. So now with Cass, like if I like her horse, I'm not allowed to put it on top. Or sometimes she's like, don't do that to me. And I have done it. Believe me, I have done it.
And it has jinxed me.
And that's not true.
Yes,
your horse just didn't win. Maybe it ran out of trainer that day. I don't know. But no, yeah. A lot of times I will. If when the thing about Cass, she's very good at putting her horses where they belong to be competitive. She's not going to run them over their heads. It's just unless you have a client who says you have to, then that's different. But and sometimes that does happen to all of these trainers. I don't care who they are. Sometimes that does happen. And at the end of the day, you don't really, really, truly want that. I mean, that is a problem. So, but sometimes I do it, sometimes I don't. It just depends. It depends. And I'm very fair with everybody when I handicap. If I think your horse is live, then your horse is live. And that's all there is to it. I'm pretty astute at doing that, knowing, basically whether this horse should be in the spot or not. And there's horses that surprise you. There's no question about it. I mean, you get a 50-1 shot that wins. It happens. It happens to everybody, everywhere. Doesn't matter, but, you're like, I wouldn't bet this horse Monopoly money, but it is what it is. I mean, I'm sorry, but, you just don't know. Sometimes they step up and they feel good and that's it. Just how it is,
I love a long shot.
We all do, man. I got a pair of socks that says "Bet the Long Shot" that I love to wear, and Cass bought me for a birthday present. I love them. So, but yeah, I mean, it's fun. I mean, and I have long shot plays, and I might do it maybe 4 or 5 times a year. That's all I really do on my sheet. Because if I see a horse that I feel that, hey, the public is probably going to ignore this horse because it has an excuse, like if you have a bad trip, if you have the fact of the matter horse coming in from another place that's, this horse only run on dirt, and I'm very good with pedigrees, and I look at the pedigree, I'm like, man, this is a synthetic horse. We've got to do this. Let's put this horse in. And sometimes they run, they do. They're live. And then the only bad thing is, though, we don't have a tremendous amount of money that goes into the win pool a lot sometimes, like on a Tuesday or something, a normal day. And my long shots that I think I'm going to get 10 or 12 to 1 on, I end up getting 3 to 1. Gets frustrating. But what are you going to do? And then the horse runs and everybody's like, well, that wasn't a long shot. I'm like, well, it was morning line, so.
Do you have a moment that you're most proud in your career of? Have you ever picked a good long shot? And then Cass, you too, of what's been your proudest moment, probably training?
For you, it had to be when you won the stake. Well, maybe not. Maybe Gucci Gal. That was her first winner ever. Oh my God, that's a great story.
Yeah, I like the name.
It was actually named after her because I bought her a pair of Gucci sunglasses. I have an older client. He's from Jersey, but he did a lot of stuff near Philadelphia. And Mr. Shammy, Ed Shammy, and he's like 94, 95 now. And he still watches all the time. He loves to go racing. and his son Michael and I were very good friends, and he was starting to get older, and the horse really wasn't producing. She had a little bit of a hiccup, and Cass is like, they just gave Cass the horse.
Yeah. Well, yeah, she's a whole story for another time. No, I wouldn't say it was winning the stake. I wouldn't say it was enduring all the migraines of Gucci Gal. In a way, it was. I mean, obviously, people would assume, oh, it must have been the day that you won the stake, and that was very fulfilling for me. I have proud achievement moments every day because I've pretty much made my career up to this point off of dealing with problem fillies. The girls that you just can't get along with. Donnie Brown had a horse in partnership with a bunch of people that he wanted me to try because she just wasn't having any luck at Penn. They weren't getting along with her in the barn at Penn. And, just being able to develop her name is Vaccina, being able to develop her, watching her mature, like really grow into herself physically and mentally, and her become successful. She won maiden special weight. She came back the next year and this past year and won the non 2 for 25 and then won the PA bred 1X. And this was a horse that was losing for maiden 7,500 at Penn before I got her. Like those moments to me are what I like to sleep soundly with at night. It's not, the accolades of training like a stakes winning horse or how many like ribbons or this or that. Like, again, kind of going back to what Patrick said, I don't need the pomp and circumstance. I'm very much this type of trainer. I'm going to saddle my horse and hide in the shadows until it's over because I don't want to be out there in the middle of God and everybody taking credit for everybody else's hard work because it takes a village. But definitely, like throughout my career, every time that I've come into what other people would consider to be a problem horse and turning them into a solid citizen, that's what gets me up out of bed in the morning.
I mean, you got to remember too, Cass used to, when she worked at Windstar, they galloped the stallions there, which a lot of stallion farms, like we never did that at Vinery ever, but at Windstar they do. She got to gallop all those great horses, Breeders' Cup winners, and Derby winners, and things like that. So, I think that's it. I never got to do any of that cool stuff.
That is cool. I'm jealous.
I got to feed them mints, but that was about it. You got to get on their backs.
Well,
it was fun. I mean, I think it's really
Drop
cool.
some names, Cass.
Drosselmeyer.
Of some you galloped.
Oh gosh. Let's see. There was Drosselmeyer, Gemologist, Bodemeister, Caleb's Posse, Z Dagger was there at the time. Horses like Red Rifle and Abraham, which are probably not the most well known, but they were still very good horses when they were running. God, let's see who else.
Super Saver was there.
Oh yeah. Well, I didn't get on every single one of them every day though.
Too.
Just sort of humor. Dara had her horses. I had my horses. Right. Like people. Yeah, we kind of got to pick and choose there, but yeah, I mean, class top to bottom. And then not even just the boys, but the girls. Like we had a lot of really talented mares over at the Windstar Training Center when we were there. Indian Giving, who's the Dam of Game winner, she was probably the thoroughbred that made me fall in love with thoroughbreds because, like I said, Windstar was kind of like my segue from quarter horses into thoroughbreds. I didn't really know what I was going to get myself into as far as racing with thoroughbreds after my uncle passed away, never coming from a thoroughbred background really. But that mare probably above everybody else was what got me hooked on thoroughbreds. Just being around her. She was massive. She was so kind, and just bred class top and bottom, and obviously ended up being a stallion producer. So
yeah, very true.
Yeah,
that's so awesome. Well, we're gonna put you guys in the hot seat. So This is rapid fire questions. Don't think, just answer.
Okay.
And we are gonna kick it off. Would you rather be, and this question's for both of you, rich or famous?
Rich.
Rich every day.
All
That was
right.
quick. What is something that can instantly improve your mood and make you happy?
Food.
Absolutely. Yes, I totally agree. Food, yes. Especially if I'm cooking it. So I love to do that. So yeah.
I can see why you guys are engaged. I can see the
Yeah.
matchup.
He does,
Food is very
he
important.
does the cooking. I do the
Yeah.
eating. Match made in heaven.
What is the strangest food combination you guys have ever tried or like?
Oh, God.
Oh.
I don't know. We're pretty straight and narrow when it comes to our food.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. You've always loved artichokes, right? I mean, like to me, it's the greatest. I think it's the greatest food ever. If I was like on death row and my last meal, it would be
I got it.
artichokes.
For me personally, it's Dairy Queen French fries and chocolate brownie blizzard. I know some people are gonna like look at me.
Oh, that's weird.
No, I like that.
I have seen
agree.
people dip their French fries in ice cream. I think it's very strange.
That's the weirdest thing.
It
I
was
can
so
come up with. I
good.
have gotten weird looks for that. Thank you.
Yes.
I love crunching up potato chips and putting them on my ice cream.
Yeah,
It's
you know what? I would try that.
Ashley,
I
what
would try that.
are you sound-minded
It's
on?
the salty and sweet.
It's so good.
Okay.
Salty and sweet.
Regular potato chips, crunch them up, Cass, like they're sprinkles, and put them on your ice cream. So
All right.
good.
We're grocery shopping later.
All right.
Okay, what's the next?
Next one. What is your go-to karaoke song?
Oh,
Go on then, Pat.
definitely, probably Small Town John Mellencamp.
That's a good one.
Yeah, I mean, I was like the biggest Mellencamp fan in the world for so long, and just really loved his music, especially when I was in college and everything. So I should get to hang out with him one time too. It was pretty cool. So
Wow.
yep. What about you, babe?
I mean, if you can drag me up there to do it, probably anything Lady Gaga.
Oh, all
Yeah.
right.
And
Poker
what's
face.
crazy, she has a great voice. Like literally, she used to do the play stuff. You know, she was always doing plays and everything in school and all that. She has
Hidden talent.
Yeah.
Well, Disney princess right here.
Yeah. We're not go too far.
Sing to the horses.
Yeah, I do.
Do you guys have more dog energy or cat energy?
Dogs.
He's dog energy. He is dog energy. I'm cat energy.
I love my boys. I love my dogs, my Greyhound and my Blue Heeler. You know, they're ours, but I've had Greyhounds for 30 some years now. We retire, you know, we get them off the track and just absolutely adore them. Just absolutely adore them. You know, they're my fave. I got Cass loving them now too.
That's my friend.
Aw. We love our dogs too.
That was our first date too, by the way, guys. That was our very first date. I had a Greyhound that I owned with a bunch of guys, and we all went together.
Yeah.
And to watch it race?
Mm-hmm.
He
that's
picked me
awesome.
up, and we took a hour and a half drive to Tri-State, and yeah,
We gotta plug his phone in.
Okay. Yeah, our first date, he put me in his car. We drove an hour and a half from Lexington to Tri-State and Wheeling, and watched the dog run. Had a killer seafood buffet, and yeah, that's how we got started.
All right. What is your love language?
You can answer this better than me.
Oh gosh. Well, I think that Patrick's is touch, and mine is food or words of affirmation.
She's very intellectual.
Yeah.
Incredibly intellectual.
What's your biggest red flags?
Oh, God. So now, where do you come up with these questions?
Oh, this is the hot seat.
This is the hot seat, okay.
Yeah. Quickly, what's your biggest
Horse girls, red flag immediately. No, I'm joking.
That
true.
is
I know
true.
you guys have seen that on Instagram and everything. And,
Yep.
Yeah, and TikTok and all that. Well, no, I'm with the horse girls. What are you gonna do?
Yeah. Horse girls.
I don't know.
Yep.
I think my biggest red flag is like somebody that goes out and parties all the time. Like I don't like that. Like I'm kind of a guy that, you know, not that I'm a private person or a recluse or anything like that, I'd rather be at my house. I'd rather have my partner be at my house with me or our house with us together, cooking, having some good vino rosso, some good wine, and just hanging out, bringing our friends over, cooking and entertaining. I love to entertain. I really do.
Mm-hmm.
I love when my friends come over. I love to cook for them.
Yeah.
Well, we'll come over and you can cook for us.
It's not a problem. You tell me what you want. I mean, I turned my friends in Lexington on to things that they had no idea what it was.
Wow.
I love
I
Italian
couldn't even
food.
pronounce it, but they ate it.
My red flag is someone that doesn't have a sense of humor, or not throwing anybody here under the bus at all, but men who think they're funny and they're not funny. We know what I'm talking about. Like,
Yeah.
somebody with a very strong jawline and a Netflix special, so to speak. Matt Rife, anybody on that
I
one?
have no idea what she's even talking about.
Donnell went and saw him in person.
I did before the whole controversy of him all. And he was like, okay, in person, it wasn't bad. He was at a casino here at Rivers.
He's a crowd worker,
Okay.
and that's excellent. Like, you pick somebody out, you do your crowd work, that's great. But when left to his own devices and for a special, nonetheless, to just dredge out the same tired, like, we've heard these jokes since we were in middle school. Like, let's come up with some original content. Yeah. If you have no sense of humor or a bad sense of humor, be gone. Bye.
Amen.
All right, last hot seat question. What is your favorite way to treat yourself?
Sleeping in. Because I never get to do it. Sleeping in.
I would like
That's nice. I don't know. Probably something to do.
Buys shoes.
Buy shoes
Buys
or clothes. Yeah. I'm like, man, I'm bad.
Oh, I feel you.
Like, Donnell, my whole outfit for Masters this year, it was literally a month of planning what I was going to wear.
Yep.
I know it sounds so goofy, but guys, I find out, okay, you find out who you're going to be doing the show with. All right. And then you move on to the next thing. Okay, what am I going to wear? Should I call them and let them know what I'm wearing? And it's just
color
like,
coordinate,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah, and it's so ridiculous and it sounds so crazy, but when we started cleaning out this house, there was a lot of my old suits here. Okay? And guys, I'm not joking, like it hurt me a little bit to send them to Goodwill. But
I won't.
Somebody was really happy, let me put it that way.
They were 70s brown, though.
No, they weren't.
They were 70s.
They might come back in style. I hoard all my clothes.
She is full of crap. That is not true.
And if they did, he doesn't even like brown.
No, I don't. It wasn't just those. But, it's just, yeah, I like to do stuff. I'm a good consumer. I'm a really good consumer.
You
I like
and
that
Donnell
stuff.
are a lot alike.
I love to shop.
I love cars. Cars are very important to me. We have way too many here. I need to get rid of some, but especially Corvettes, I love. It's just my other passion, especially old Corvettes. And Cass thinks I'm goofy, but I'll see an old Corvette and I'll tell her what year it is immediately, what the color is, the actual color that the factory named the color, and she thinks I'm goofy. But, it's just my best friend and I, we go to Corvettes at Carlisle all the time. It's the biggest Corvette show in the entire world. It's just, yeah, that's kind of how I treat myself.
Oh, well, that's great. Well, thank you. You made it through the hot seat. You made it through Hot to Trot.
Thank you guys for being on. We appreciate you guys spending the afternoon with us.
Take care.
All right, bye-bye.
What a fun couple Cass and Patrick are. I'm glad we had them on the show. Thank you guys so much for listening. I hope you're enjoying it as much as we are. Make sure you're following us on social media and let us know who you want to see in the hot seat, who you want us to have as a guest. You can do that all at penhorseracing.com/hot2trot, or Hot to Trot is now on TikTok. So follow us at Hot to Trot Podcast on TikTok, and we'll see you for the next episode. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening, and thank you to the Standardbred Breeders of Pennsylvania for sponsoring Hot to Trot. We'll see you next time.